Michael Polozola with the LSU Ag Center, Extension Fruit and Nut Specialist. And what we're going to look at on this and with how to trellis blackberries are two different materials I use in my planting for getting them on the trellis wire. One is this kind of green nursery tape that has some flexibility to it, so it doesn't break off when it's stretched. And then for other once it gets further along, these tree bands, which is a natural rubber product that catches on itself. So personally, I really like the green nursery tape that has that flexibility for that first initial getting these trained on here. So you do have to watch. The first step you do is kind of get an idea of how far you need it to go. Then you can just rip it like that and it comes off easy. But you have to look at it and see where are you going to tie it on the system here. If you tie the tape around here, that's going to be brittle, it's going to break. Don't do that. Go a little bit further down where it's turned a little bit brown, slightly lignified, becomes slightly woody, and you're going to just lightly tie around. Doesn't need to be an intricate knot, just kind of tacking, holding it on. And there we go. Because I'm doing it on camera, it's deciding to be tricky. But normally it goes very easy like that. And what I'm going to do right around here, doesn't have to be a fancy knot for this as well. I like to loop over like that. And then there you go. So this one, it doesn't have a long way to go, but say for the taller line, it's very helpful to have this, and you can kind of be weaving this around to give it some support. But for this one, since it's already close to the height I want, and I want to push some of these shoots, I'm going to go ahead and nip that top out there to encourage it to space out here. Now, as far as the rubber bands go, when this gets a bit bigger around, I will fasten this directly here with there on the rubber band. If I do that now with it being very light green and not lignified, it can damage it. So we're just going to let it continue to grow. It'll get a bit bigger around and it'll be easier to look at. But next, let's go look at some limbs where we can use some tree bands to attach them to the trellis wire. So this is a tree band, and it's just a circle with kind of an anchor hook there for you to be able to catch by wrapping around like this, which you'll see me do in just a second. What can happen is as they start to fill up the lateral trellis line, weight starts to pull themselves down. And this, you kind of just stretch out around like this, circle it around, and it is caught on itself, and that should hold fairly well. I do them about every foot or so. It depends how often I need it to be there. And you can see how that's automatically lifted up here, giving it support. But what I like is that it's still loosely tacked on here. We have wind, it gives it some movement, it's not rigid on here. And what you'll find, even with fruit later in the season, the whole vines have the flexibility to move a little bit like this with the weight, and it makes the fruit easier to pick. So that's my preference, but some people prefer to use the green nursery tape for this step, but I just like having this tree band going across and holding it on the wire. So in this situation, we're also doing a tree band, but this is right as the spur is coming out, what I'm using to train to go this way. Just a tad bit different because instead of raising it up to the line, I'm bringing it down. You do have to be a little bit more careful in that. This one should be okay because it's arching up, but if it's real close, if you're not careful, it will snap. But you see it's got some flexibility there, and we are able to fasten it on just like this, and it should be good. And as it goes, we should just be able to continue to tack it on, and it'll be fine.